Welcome, my dear listener. My name is Stephen Kamore from Counseling Research Institute of Kenya. I want to share, a research-based presentation on peer counseling program. Knowledge is power, and when shared, power is multiplied. In line with our vision as a research institution, we get joy when we disseminate information to empower people in our society so that they can go on transforming their communities. This presentation is based on one of our researches on 4 pillars of effectiveness of peer counseling program in high schools, conducted in Meru South, and it is published in the International Journal of Humanities and Social Science, volume 5 and number 2. My listener, peer counseling is a program. It is an intervention program, and therefore it is more preventive, meaning that the implementers of this program should be proactive. We should not wait until emerging issues affecting the targeted population become a crisis, because peer counseling is more preventive. It should not be crisis-centered program. Peer counseling program exists in various organizations such as schools, colleges, churches, universities, agencies, prisons, and workplaces, like in the police force, in the army, in the workplace, depending on the needs of the organization. Peer counseling is an action program. Therefore, it should have the criteria of an action program. Which are these criteria? 1, it should be current, meaning that it should address emerging issues affecting the targeted population. It should be complete. The program should be comprehensive. It should cover all the tenets of an effective peer counseling program models shared in this program toward the end. Then 3, it must be clear. The purpose, the vision, the mission, the objectives, the role, everything should be clear. And therefore, we can simply say the program should be smart. The program should be smart. What do we mean by this? The program goals should be specific and narrow for more effective planning. It should be measurable. The program should be able to define what evidence will prove that the program is making the intended progress or achieving the set objectives. And this make it easy to evaluate whenever it is necessary. It should be attainable. The program should accomplish the set goals within a certain set time frame. This could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be yearly, or depending on the organization and the long-term objectives. It should also be relevant. The program goals should be aligned with the institution or the organization values and long-term objective. And this is why it is important to know that what works in peer counseling program in one organization may not necessarily work in another. You need to have an organization tailored peer counseling program so that it can be specific. There could be general principles that can be applied, but even the training, depending on it, is determined by the needs of that population and also the values. Remember, I have visited several institutions and I have noted that they have very good values in their strategic plans. But can I tell you the truth? Most of these values are never internalized. When you observe the members of that organization, you don't see the values. And that's why we are saying the peer counseling program as an agent of change should be tailored along the values and the long-term objective of the organization. It should also be time-based. The program should be guided by an ambitious end date to enable what we call task prioritization and also the motivation of the participants. Listeners, it is very important to note that if you want an effective peer counseling program for your organization, make sure everything is documented and well communicated. Let us reflect together on what I call the 7 tenets of an effective peer counseling program. The first is that it must have a rationale. You must be able to put and explain clearly what are the underlying reasons for the program. You don't just have a program for the sake of the program. Many institutions I have visited and I have inquired from them, what is it that you are achieving through this program? Most of them don't have a clear rationale. And remember, we have said peer counseling is an action-based program. There must be some evaluable results that will be achieved by the end of the day. 2, or the second tenet, is that it has to have a target population. The target population of the peer counseling program varies. For example, in schools, it could be the students, it could be teachers. We have even peer counselors among the teachers who can be able to help the teachers with their psychosocial issues. Or even it could be youth in the church. It could be people with special needs, like people with certain long-term diseases like diabetes. You can be trained on how to counsel each other. And you can use the peer counseling program in many places, including the workplace. For example, among the police force, or in the army, or even in other areas, depending on the target population. And therefore, you need to know the target population of the peer counseling program. And knowing the target population also means understanding them deeply. Point number 3, after you have identified the target population, now it is time to do what we call needs assessment. You need to ask yourself, what are the needs of this population that can be addressed through the peer counseling program? The needs assessment is very important in many areas. It will help you even to set objectives and even to determine the nature of the training required. Then after the need assessment, then you move on to what you call the formulation of the program objectives. They should be very clear. They should be smart. And these objectives can be divided into 2. We have what we call the long-term goals. This can take 1 year, several months, or even several years. But we should also have short-term goals. Short-term goals should be aligned with the long-term goal, together with the long-term goals. These are the activities that you are doing on daily basis, on monthly basis, but remember to, on the end, they should all be geared toward achievement of the long-term goal. Now, after you have now set the clear goals, the objectives, now you go to the fifth tenet or the fifth pillar, which is planning. This is a very important stage in the development of the peer counseling program. In this stage, you should ask yourself the following questions. 1. What are the resources required? Do you require trainers? Do you require books? Do you require any curriculum? Do you require a survey? Do you require, and then have a budget. Have a budget. This thing should be stipulated. And as you decide the resources required, have the long-term objectives in mind so that you don't stop along the way for lack of resources. And this is what you should use to ask for probably support from the organization or from the administration, because things are clear and you are not just speculating. Now, the other question you must ask yourself, depending on the needs assessment and the objective that you want to achieve through this program, what training is required? And as I've said, I have, in my own experience or in our experience and as an organization, we have noted that apart from a few basic principles, peer counseling program training varies from one institution, from one organization, from one group to another, depending on the objectives. And that is where now you sit down and ask yourself what training is required. I think I'll be sharing these in more details when I'll be looking at the pillars of the peer counseling program in upcoming series. Question number 3, you must ask yourself what strategies are required to make this program successful. These strategies must be discussed objectively and they must be realistic strategies, because by the end of the day, the peer counseling program should bring the desired change in the organization. The next question should be, how will the program be monitored? It must be stated clearly. Who will be the supervisors? How will you monitor to ensure that the program is moving toward the right direction in order to achieve the intended objective? Very, very important. You go to many institutions and say there's a peer counseling program, but there's no monitoring. And in the monitoring, data must be available. What are you observing? Is it working? And are there weaknesses? Are there areas that the program requires to be strengthened in? And this is where even the supervision of the peer counselors is necessary. Then the next question you should ask yourself is, will there be time allocated for the program? Sometimes you may have a very good planning, but if it is not factored in the organization routine, then that program will not be effective. It must be programmed. What time will be allocated for the implementation of this or for the activities of the program? Lastly, what roles will be allocated? Remember, this is a program. It can't be left hanging. Who is accountable for the supervision? Who is accountable for the monitoring? Now, what will be the responsibility of the organization, administration, or even managers? Then what will be specific roles of even the peer counselors themselves? The roles must be very clear. We should not leave anything hanging. Then tenet number 6 is implementation. We must now, after planning, go on with the implementation. The implementation is simply putting now the program into action. And after this, now as you can progress on with the program, depending now on the timeline that you have set, you need to keep on evaluating. Evaluation involves getting feedback from the peer counselors themselves through what we call group focus, or even self-report questionnaires, or even interviews. And they can be able to tell how they are succeeding, what are the weaknesses of the program, what are the successes, what need to be done, so that now as you continue with the program, you'll be able to ensure interventions are done to ensure the program does not fail to achieve the intended objective. Through the feedback, you can also interview the consumers of the peer counseling program. It's good to find out, are they benefiting? Is the program achieving the intended objective? Is it really addressing their challenges? Because if it is not, then you need to go to the drawing board and find out how to make that program client-centered. Now, I hope that the insight that I've shared will help you, my listener, to plan an effective peer counseling program for your institution or organization. This could be a school, it could be the prison, it could be workplaces, it could even be churches. It's a very effective program. Research has proved where it is well programmed, it has great impact in helping the intended population. For further consultation about peer counseling program, feel free to contact the program coordinator and the trainer using the contact provided in this video. My listener, remember to follow my Facebook and YouTube, Stephen Kamore. Subscribe for free to ensure you don't miss upcoming episodes. All videos you can download for free. We are developing more professional content for you just for free, because our motto is empowering people, and so that they can transform their society. Thank you for listening. You can share this video with a friend to